Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cleveland Stage Store. My name is Jimmy Davis, and happy Wednesday, man. We are here this week with Christopher Swan from Annie, the musical visiting Playhouse Square March 19th through the 24th. Christopher, good day, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Jimmy. How are you?
I am doing great. And you play Oliver Warbucks in the show. Tell me about it. Tell us more about how you bring that character to life.
Well, it's a really actually a really interesting character for me. I love playing parts like this with kind of these kind of men of a certain age and a certain station in life who are just kind of stuck in a rut, and they don't really realize it. And then something kind of happens to them. In this case, this little redheaded orphan shows up, and you kind of realize what you've been missing in your world of connection and support and love and you change and you change. And this is a he's, of course, people probably know this already, but he's this multimillionaire in Depression, New York, 1930s, who's spent his whole life um, building wealth, and that's been his main goal, to kind of protect himself, I think, through his life and growing up. And he kind of runs into this little kid who kind of turns his world upside down and and really changes him for the better. So it's a great role to play, and I've been very honored to play it now for about a year and a half.
I was gonna say, I think I just saw you celebrated 2 years with it recently. I just saw on
Yeah,
your
this
social
is
media.
well, we're right now in the second year of this tour. We opened last year and had a great run the first year, and then had an offer to come back, and the schedule looked great. And again, I couldn't really say no to this coming back and just kind of watching this part grow. And a lot of wonderful actors came back this year as well too. Our actors who plays Miss Hannigan and Grace Farrell and FDR, who were all great. And to get another year under our belts with this has been really wonderful.
Now here's a question everybody's wondering: did you shave your head for the part, or was it already shaved before the part?
No, it's I shaved it for the part, although I have shaved it before. But there was that kind of one brief moment where you kind of talk to the director, the designer, and you say, what if Daddy doesn't really have a shaved head? Do we, And they go, no, it's kind of when you sign on to do Daddy Warbucks, it's kind of a given that you're going to
Yeah,
shave your head. But with my hair, it's no real loss there. There wasn't much to hang on to anyway, so I didn't have
absolutely.
a lot of issues. So yeah, and people tell me I look good, so I'm like, all right.
Absolutely, it looks natural. That's why I asked. I was like, I wasn't sure if you had it before or if it's new to you or whatnot.
Yeah,
But
it's been a while. It's been a while, but it's a look I've kind of adopted, and I kind of own it now. So
so let's talk more about the show. Is it more like the new adaptation that you see on like the movie that was released recently? Like, does it have the new songs in it, or is it more of the older adaptation of the Broadway show?
yeah, good question. And it's very fresh, and it feels very new because it's actually the old original show, which I don't think a lot of people have seen. Our director, Jen Thompson, was actually in the original cast when she was a kid. She was one of the orphans on
Oh
Broadway,
wow,
and she was the second, I guess, Pepper on the cast back in 1978, 79, something like that. And she had a real love and a real affinity for the show, and she always has. And she said that's kind of why kind of she hadn't never really directed it before, because she really wanted to make it a certain way and harken back to what she remembered. And so we did. We went back to the original script and the original score, because there has been a lot, like you said, there's been a lot of small changes through the years that was kind of built up. Every Annie's
mhm,
kind of done something different. They've rearranged scenes, or they've put new songs in, or they've taken a new take on the characters. And I think we've gotten so far away from what it originally was, actually. So it's kind of neat to see it now, to kind of see how it was, what the original concept was, what the original characters were like, and how the songs were kind of slated in the show. So that's what kind of makes this one kind of, I think, kind of fresh and special. But because it's Annie, also the story of it constantly feels current in terms of what we're looking for in America, political differences, optimism, trying to feel, very hopeful about the future and about our connection with people. So it still works, and you still feel it in the audience every night.
absolutely. And tell me this: what if there was one song that you could perform in the show? What would be the song that you would want to perform?
Oh, it's funny. What I forget what they call that when you're like with the men sing the women's songs, the women sing the men's songs. But part of me every night,
Mhm.
you listen to Miss Hannigan, and the track that she gets to play out there. That's such a wonderful part, and it's a wonderful song, singing the little girls. It's a great vocal part. It's also a great comic song, and it's funny because Hannigan and I actually Warbucks, we hardly ever meet on stage. So I kind of listen to her show and she listens to my show over the monitors. And so every night when I'm getting ready to come on stage, I'm kind of listening to little girls and singing along with that. And it would be fun someday to be able to have a chance to actually perform that on stage.
For sure, for sure. And let me ask you this: Oliver Warbucks is such a iconic character. Was there any pressure going in to try and like establish this character as your own, and but also keep the iconicness of the character behind it?
Yeah, well, luckily with some, strangely enough, that we were talking a little while ago about shaving the head and all that. Luckily that's so strong and powerful. The look of him, he comes on, he's this tall guy in this tuxedo and this suit with the bald head. That kind of does a lot of the work for that establishment. So after that, you can kind of relax as an actor and just go to the script and go to the score and go to the scenes and just play the part as you would any other part in a way. You just why is he there? What does he want? Where has he been? And luckily he makes such a nice journey that I can kind of come in as a bit of a tougher guy, who's worried about his businesses, worried about his employees, worried about the future of the country, and then something like this happens where he meets this orphan, and things just change and kind of change him into a different person by the end. So it's a great part to play that way.
For sure. And would you say like what would be one thing if someone never seen the show before, or this is the first time seeing the show? What would be the one thing that someone's going to learn, or you think that they would take away from the show, like a life lesson from the show?
Yeah, life lesson is to I don't know. There's a lot of a lot of little lessons. That's the beauty of Annie. I think depending on who you are, you can see different things in it that can kind of speak to you. Um, it might be for certain families who come in, and we've actually had a lot of adoptive parents come to the show, which is really wonderful at the stage door, where you meet these families who they kind of come and they'll tell you the story of how they adopted their little child and how they saw Annie when they were when they were a child and they wanted to share it with them. Those are the parts that make that special, apart from the actual work on stage for me. I know it's kind of a diversion. I just wanted to say that. But stage wise, I defy anybody to to go out there and hear Annie sing Tomorrow. It's kind of a cliche now. You kind of go, oh yeah, and Tomorrow, we all know this, and then you actually see it in the theater, and you see the power of when this little kid sings this song, and the cheering and the love. It's not just applauding for this little girl who's doing an amazing job in the show. It's this applauding for the idea and for the optimism and the hope and the idea of, things can always get better tomorrow if you always look ahead. Um, I think that's the overwhelming theme of Annie, is just the optimism, the idea of working together. Um, that's an element that's kind of stronger in our show. I think that sometimes it has been cut from other productions. The idea of politicians, of conservatives and liberals working together to kind of try to make America better. FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, is actually a big part in our show. And the fact that he meets Annie and suddenly now things kind of start getting better for the country as a whole, and the fact that he can work together with Warbucks to kind of make changes to help her, and then in a bigger picture, maybe help the country. So that for me also is very optimistic and very very hopeful. That I love playing those scenes every night. So um, it's just a wonderful uplifting musical, and I defy anybody to come and not leave the theater singing and feeling better about life before they can.
For sure, for sure. And all right, so let's pivot into this, your past history. We talked about this off air. You visited Cleveland recently on Cinderella when you toured with them, and you got to visit one of the most iconic Cleveland figures, the Christmas Story house, and you played in Christmas Story. What was it like visiting the actual house of the musical that you played in for so long?
It was a thrill. I was so excited. I couldn't believe it. And luckily it was on Cinderella. Like I said, I've toured the musical Christmas Story for quite a few years before that. And then I finally came while I was on a different show, but it's Christmas Story. So of course there was a handful of people on our cast who were huge fans as well. So about five of us made a little side trip to the house, and I, I wish I could really describe my feeling about driving up there and getting out and looking at the house from the movie, and just like, oh my god, it's real. It really exists. And you get in the porch and you go inside the house and you go in the rooms and you see Ralphie's Red Ryder there, and you see, and you see the kitchen where they sit down and everything happens, and Randy's under the sink, and you can't believe this, that you're really there. The Christmas tree and all the presents that are under the tree and the bowling ball, and um, and of course you start like doing all the lines from the movie. We started replaying the scenes and acting them out and talking and sharing with my friends about what their favorite moments were, and because I was also a huge fan of the movie even before I did the musical, and then the most magical thing was actually when we came out of the house. When we went in, and it hadn't happened yet. We came out of the house on the porch, and it's snowing. This beautiful light snow comes down, and we couldn't believe it. So then we started running down the sidewalk. Like started doing some of one friend was doing the Randy walk down the sidewalk with the snowsuit on, and we're redoing the scenes, and it was great. It was just wonderful. I picked up a couple of Bumpus Hound dogs, and it was just one of those unexpected trips that just was so magical for me personally, and I'm so glad I got to do it. I'm excited to get back to Cleveland again. I don't know if we get back to the Christmas house this time, Christmas Story house, but we're looking forward to a couple other things. I haven't done the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
I was
yet.
going to
So.
ask, have you done the Rock Hall yet?
No, we're all talking
Oh,
about that. Yeah.
yeah. That's
So
that's the one must that you have to do when you come to Cleveland is the Rock Hall.
absolutely.
It's beautiful. So hopefully you can get time to do that. So the last two questions are always the two I ask everybody. So the one question is out of all your history of touring, what is the one piece of advice that if you could go back to give yourself on your first day of touring, what would it be?
Oh, yeah, it's first day of touring ever, your very first tour. It's an exciting time. It's incredibly exciting. First of all, it just we're in this business because we love it. Not because we're going to get rich doing touring these touring shows across the country. It's because there's nothing else that you really want to do that you feel like that really makes you as happy or as excited. And first of all, when you get the job offer, you're just through the moon, over the moon, and but you don't know. I remember going and asking these questions about like, so when we get to every new city, do we restage the show for each set, and how does it happen? Do we have to do this, and where do you find food, and all, and little by little these questions are kind of answered, and these people have been doing it for a long time, and these touring companies, they kind of know um, how this works, and you just kind of give yourself over to it and focus on the show. That's kind of why you're there. People say, oh, I'm caught up on the travel, and it can be kind of tiring and it can kind of wear you down, but just take those moments where you're like, wow, I'm in this fantastic show, bringing it to these beautiful theaters across the country, which that was the big surprise when I was first touring. These little gems that happen. You think about Broadway and everyone's like, Broadway's this, Broadway's that. And then you look around the country, and most every city has these wonderful historic theaters that are cared for and supported by the local patrons and the supporters of the theater. And you go in there, and they're most often bigger than Broadway houses, more innate, have more history, and the audiences are so happy to have you come through town. It's a touring experience. It's experience as an actor like no other, and so I just always appreciate that. I always hang on to that, and I'm always happy to go to the theater every night. So I would just say to actors, don't let the little stuff get you down. Sometimes some hotel rooms are better than others and things like that. But when you get to the theater and you're doing what you love to do, that's there's nothing else like it.
Have you performed that when you were in Cinderella? Did you perform at Playhouse Square?
Yes, I believe
You
so.
did.
I believe so. Yeah.
Was that before or after the chandelier?
Oh, or after the
The
shand. Oh, I'm not
the
sure.
So there's a huge chandelier in the middle of the road now,
Oh,
outside the theater, and it's like the world's biggest outdoor chandelier.
oh wow. Oh,
And so you walk outside of the theater you're in, you turn left, and it's literally right there, and it's stunning, stunning.
wow. Oh, I look
It's
forward to seeing it again.
right in the middle of the theater district, the middle of all the theaters that they have there. It's beautiful.
think Cinderella was about, let's see, I've done Hairspray, 2 years of this, and then a year off from COVID. So it was probably about Hairspray. Cinderella, I think, was 5, 6 years ago.
So it might have been probably either right before or right after that.
Okay,
So
well,
it's
I look forward to
meaningful.
seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So other question is what would you say your dream role would be? Like if before you hang it up, what is the one role you hope to be able
Oh,
to do?
I've I've been so lucky, and I've been so lucky that I haven't even thought about this question in a long time. I mean, most actors kind of have it at their on the tip of their tongue, and I've between first of all, now I'm doing Daddy Warbucks, which was definitely on the bucket list. I was so thrilled when they put another tour out. I wasn't sure it was going to go out again for a while, and the fact that I got it, I was just thrilled for it. The Old Man in the Christmas Story musical, I got to do that for all my touring roles have just been fantastic. I went out on Hairspray 2 years ago with a show that I didn't expect to be so satisfied by. I played Wilbur Tracy's dad and had the best time ever. But some of most satisfying things came in regional theater. I did a lot of straight plays before I started touring the musicals, and so I kind of built myself up as an actor and got to do things like Iago and Othello, and I did a couple of one man shows. There's a wonderful one man show called This Wonderful Life, where this fan of the movie A Wonderful Life basically recreates the entire movie, playing all the characters. So I've had these real highlights that have just been really really special. But um, I guess I've always wanted to tour, and I'm looking forward to it because I'm still kind of aging that way. To do Cervantes, Don Quixote, and the tour of Man of La Mancha.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
it's one of those up that's up there. If it just kind of came to me that I've always loved the music and loved the story, and someone else who's an actor who's in a very stressful situation. I like the idea of someone doing theater to save their life, which is what's happening in the play, where this character, he's literally thrown into this prison and they're trying to take his story and kind of intimidate him, and he doesn't know he's going to live or die, and so he has to tell the story of this character he's created, this Don Quixote character, uh, so it's kind of a play within a play that way, and that really really intrigues me as an actor. So maybe someday I'll get lucky enough to have a shot at that. But if not, I'm very happy to say at this point I've had such a wonderful career that if it ended today, which thank God it won't, hopefully it won't, I'm not going to have a lot of regrets. I'm not going to be like, oh God, I wish I had, because I've really had I've been very very fortunate in the roles that I've been offered and the roles I've had a chance to do. So
Absolutely, and you do have a great resume. I was looking at it, and I'm very excited to see you next week in Annie. So, thank you so much, Christopher, for joining us. If you want to see Christopher and the entire cast of Annie, part of the Huntington featured performance, March 19th through the 24th at Playhouse Square. Tickets are on sale now at playhousesquare.org. Christopher, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week when you come to town.
it's been my pleasure. I look forward to it, Jimmy. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And here's a special preview thanks to our friends at Annie of the show. And we'll see y'all next month. Thank you so much. We'll see y'all.
You'll stay up till this dump shines like the top of the Chrysler building.